In today's video, we are discussing a reserve list card that is spiked up 1300%. We are also going to cover an Aetherdrift card, which is of course connected to this, and another reserve list card that most people are ignoring, but a buyout happened there as well. Stay tuned, we have a lot to cover in today's video. The easiest way to start today's video is like this. Big YouTube channel makes a comment about a reserve list card. Reserve list card goes nuclear, buyout occurs, and now we get to discuss the aftermath of what just happened and a whole lot more. How's that sound? Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thank you again for hanging out with me on my channel today. Now, before we start today's video, some of this information will definitely be new from anything else you've seen out there on YouTube. Other parts of it will not be. They're going to be a rehash because there's a lot of channels that put out content a lot faster than me. It's just the way it's going to be. It's never going to change. But if you want to talk, if you want to listen, you want to be entertained, thanks for hanging in there. Okay, now first we got to jump to this. Unfulfilled desires. Now, if we took a look at this card right now, if I just pop it up here on the screen, you can see massive buyout, okay? It jumped all the way up to $35. Now, if you want actual sales numbers, I'll be honest. I do have them. I would like to save them for... No, I'm not going to save them for the top 10. It'll probably be more than that by then. We are at 924 sales. Anyone who follows reserve list cards, that doesn't happen. Understand that. It does not happen. 924 at the time of me making this video, which is Wednesday night. 924 is my confirmed count. I didn't even have to ask. So thank you to everyone who already knew I'd be asking for this information and sent the sales my way. And the person who bought 120 for like $1.96 US, congratulations, beautiful buy. Now, let me pop this back up here. Let's get serious. So we have this 924 sales causes a cascading effect of the reserve list card, Unfulfilled Desires, and the thing just jumps onto the battlefield, just goes crazy. Now, when we look at Unfulfilled Desires, one black, one blue, and one other. Enchantment that says, 1, pay 1 life, draw a card, and then choose and discard a card. Now, it's an enchantment. You can use this on multiple turns. You can do whatever you want on your turn, their turn, every turn. So it does work with Commander already. And let's be honest, this card, it's actually been like, it's already been up to like 50, 60 bucks. This is not new. It has been at this price before. This is just like the second, third, or fourth time it's been here. You probably saw this information on things like Alpha Investments. It is true. This thing has spiked a few times. It has had interest, and it's never been able to hold. There are a lot of copies out there. Doesn't that sound like deja vu from another channel? I know, because it's true. Big print runs mean there's a lot of copies out there. But at the same time, the market cannot keep pace until people start looking for the card in bulk bins and throwing it up there. Because this card, up until a couple of days ago, by the time you watch this video, was a couple of dollars and nobody cared. It's had buyouts before. I own lots of copies myself. But here we are, and this is the event. Now, there is more than just the fact this sold out. A bigger YouTube channel making a comment like that, like, hey, this card works pretty good. That's what sets things off, because a lot of these players may not have been aware of the reserve list card. They may not have been aware that some of these cards exist and have been around a long time. They just don't have a lot of value. And when somebody sees that they can use it for something, well, that's when the FOMO event takes over. Everyone just goes ballistic and has got to have it that moment. Now, of course, we know this is going to die down. Anyone who's been around the game for a while realizes this price is not going to hold. It's going to go back down. It's going to be back to a $3, $4, $5 card within a 6-month period. It's just the way it works. Nothing is moving the reserve list en masse. We've had these mini spikes on the reserve list with particularly interesting cards. But there's more, okay? Let's see where this card is being worked in and what people are talking about for the future of building with this card. So if it does go down in price, or if you have copies and you want to sell them, this can all kind of work in your favor. Here, check this out. So the first thing I want to discuss with you all is Monument of Endurance. This is a 3 casting cost artifact that just got spoiled with Aetherdrift, and it says, whenever you discard a card, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. And they are, draw a card, create a treasure token, and each opponent loses 3 life. Each opponent, very interesting. Now, if we take a closer look at a card like Unfulfilled Desires, it says you can pay 1 life to draw a card and then choose and discard a card. That means you can use this multiple times on multiple turns with cards like Monument of Endurance. Which means if I get to choose it 3 times each turn and I have enough land, I can do 9 damage to everybody by the time it gets around to me again, give or take a little bit. It's kind of crazy to think how this card could synergize and connect. But the funny thing is, this isn't the card they're talking about. This is just something that kind of pops in there and says, this can be utilized this way to do some very crazy things. And the Monument of Endurance is one of those cards you should be looking at because of how it's written and how it's worded. Players are going to buy this card. And cards like Unfulfilled Desires also fit into areas like this, and you shouldn't ignore it just because of that, which means it's going to have more uses. But it gets worse than this. Now, if I want to share another thing here, this is Copy Artifact. It's a reserve list card, and it's been selling like hotcakes. Most people didn't know this. They hadn't been paying attention because of Unfulfilled Desires, but this sold 200 plus copies in the last 48 hours. 200 plus copies. Again, this card is only going up $5-6. It's not spiking or getting the attention. But why do you think a card like Copy Artifact is selling the same way? Where it's going up on the reserve list, out of the blue, and nobody's caught it yet. Yeah, you're seeing that part here first. Nobody's mentioned it as far as I know. Now, the other card that I'm not going to put up here on the screen for you is Mirror Maid. That's the 2 blue 1 that can copy enchantments or artifacts. Well, couldn't that work with Unfulfilled Desires as well as Monument of Endurance? You can see how some of these cards are going to connect and synergize. The good news is Mirror Maid is like $1 card. It's very inexpensive. Copy Artifact, which is the cheaper card to get in terms of casting cost, and it only copies artifacts. This thing is like $30-40. It's going up in value, and most people aren't paying attention. Now, if we jump forward here, there's other cards like Sculpting Steel that have had a real surge in sales. You may have Sculpting Steel enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Monument of Endurance. And of course, the last one I want to share with you is, of course, Temmet. Now, Temmet, of course, is why we're here in terms of Unfulfilled Desires, because it says, whenever you attack, draw a card and then discard a card. Whenever you draw a card, zombies you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. But of course, if you have a way of drawing with massive amounts of mana and losing 1 life, all your zombies become these giant beastly things that will overrun everybody on the battlefield. It will win you the game. If you have Unfulfilled Desires, which works perfectly, black and white, right? It fits in there with what this card's going to do. And that's what everyone's really surging and talking about. But we have more than just that. You can see it right here when you look at the Monument of Endurance, the connective tissue that is going to allow people to do all kinds of crazy effects because of the color wheel that Temmet is using. Because he's using that color wheel, we are going to see some crazy stuff going on. And we've also seen a lot of zombies selling lately, which means the overall sales volumes this week are going to be kind of crazy for the reserve list top 10 on Sunday. And you should tune into that. It's going to be nutty. I can already feel it. But we also have a whole bunch of zombie cards selling. And then you have cards that haven't even been released yet, but people know what they want. And now they're starting to put this all together. When we take a look at 2023 and 2024 recent history sales on the reserve list with spikes in individual cards, cards like Mind Over Matter, Seeds of Innocence, Soldevi Digger, they all had some new mechanic that came along that made these cards highly sought after, very interesting for a short period of time. Now, some of these cards don't wind down as quickly and the value holds a lot longer. And in some cases, they do have a new, higher determined value because of their playability factor. Unfulfilled Desires has been through 3 of these cycles already. Chances are it is going to settle a little bit higher, but it's not going to be that much. There's still a lot of copies out there. The one that's interesting for me is taking a look at Copy Artifact. Although these copies are selling, the price is barely changing right now, which means that is the going rate for a Copy Artifact. Anywhere between $30 to $50 from heavily played to near mint. That's what players are willing to pay, and they're not going any higher. So a card like that is going to keep its value and hold on a lot longer. But remember, it also still has a massive print run. The real difference is players tend not to get rid of these mid-range reserve list cards like Copy Artifact because they get fit into too many other decks, where other cards like Unfulfilled Desires are still a situational card dedicated to 1, 2, 3, 5 different decks, and that's about it. But if players do hold on and they don't let this card go, and more players are trying to collect it and build positions, that's when the price will actually fundamentally shift for the long term. But it takes a lot more pressure than one buyout, even if we're at 900 plus sales right now for Unfulfilled Desires. And I think the last time I took a look at Copy Artifact as I was filming this video, we're over the 200 mark and still climbing. I will take a closer look by the weekend when we do the reserve list top 10. But these numbers are really high. They are something we do not normally see. And last weekend, we had a buyout of unlimited Copy Artifacts here on the channel. You can watch that Sunday video of the top 10. You'll see it's really crazy to see how these sales work sometimes. But we know the overall market is not finding the need to buy massive amounts of reserve list cards, so nothing's changing. But every new set, Aetherdrift included, offers a new opportunity, a new card, some new crazy combo that everyone wants to try, and they're going to have a good time doing it. And when a big channel mentions it and has a real long arm and a reach, a lot of players become aware of it, and a lot of sales happen. I want to thank you guys again for hanging out with me on the channel today. I hope you had a blast while you were here, as much fun as I had bringing this video and this information to you. I will see you guys tomorrow with another video. Have an awesome day, everyone. Hey guys, a big shout out, a thank you to all the fantastic patrons and YouTube membership members on this channel. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this daily uploaded content. It just wouldn't happen. It'd be impossible. And because of those players, those people, those supporters of this channel, we get to do this every single day. It's epic. Thanks again, guys, for being part of Team Mox, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't worry, it's 24 hours away until the next video. Okay. Let's step back for a moment. Let's take a... All right. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. You're here at the end section, and for some reason you decide to stick around just to see the madness that is Unfulfilled Desires. Now here's the thing. This has happened before. Unfulfilled Desires was up to like 50 bucks, 60 bucks. And if it sank back down, it had real buyouts back in 2021. People went ballistic. Now, I do own copies of this card. I wish I had more. I wish I had a larger position so I could offer to patrons. I don't. I just have to wait, but I've learned my lesson. It's gone on the list. If this thing goes cheap, I will buy a lot of them. I will hold it. Don't worry. We'll have extra copies here on the channel for the future. I am well aware. Now, at the same time, Copy Artifact. Nobody even mentioned it. Nobody's even talking about how many copies this thing sold. When you compare the weekend sales of the unlimited copies all the way through to this week, we have a tremendous amount of copies moving. Everything from heavily played to near mint. Somebody's doing stuff. Something's going on. And that's another reserve list card where we have this weird action we haven't seen for a while. So I had to mention it in this video in case nobody else does. Okay? Knowing what my reserve list top 10 is going to look like this weekend is insane. Insane. And I'm so looking forward to getting into the numbers and digging into this to see where this rabbit hole goes. It's going to be so much fun. I know the things I find fun are weird, but that's not the point. That's not the point. That's not why you're here. Is it? Maybe. Who knows? Don't worry about it. We'll get back to that. Guys, have an awesome one. We'll see you soon. This is the world we live in. I wouldn't change it for anything. Would I? Maybe. Not today. Too much coffee? Probably.